Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Rooted Podcast here. You may notice we are down a man, Mr. Ben Cole. He's having some technical difficulties. He's been dealing with the internet company. I'm sure we've all been there. So we just decided to go on ahead. And I've got a special guest today, Mr. Trevor Gibbs, the founder of MANBAR, the best meat stick on the market, in my humble opinion. And
Thank you.
Trevor, welcome to the show, partner. It's a pleasure to have you.
Hey man, I can't thank you enough for having me on and for saying that about our meat sticks.
Absolutely. First thing I gotta say, dude, where are you, man? That background. I mean, that looks like it belongs in a magazine. Where are you right now? That looks gorgeous.
I'm actually in my backyard.
Oh, I love it.
We've got a nice little spread back here, plenty of space, and we got a little stock tank pool and
Heck yeah.
fountain, and I've got about 35 yards to shoot my bow. And yeah, it's a nice little spot.
That's incredible. What kind of bow you shooting these days?
Man, I've got a PSE NTN.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, the Evo.
Hey,
I'm
it
not a big.
works.
I try very hard not to fight the male urge to not tinker too much.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I try and keep things pretty simple and streamlined. All my guns are pretty simple and straightforward, and I figure if I can shoot those and when
Absolutely.
it gets better and more fancy, I should be able to shoot those too. But the reverse isn't always true. So
Yeah, well, that is true. I'll tell you, man, the first bow, I still have it, was a Bear Attitude, and it's one of
okay,
those like ready to hunt bows, I mean, I spent
yeah.
I think like $500 and I mean, broadheads, arrows, I was ready.
There
Whisker
you go.
biscuit.
Hey man,
I mean, it
I mean that's all
works.
you need.
That's
Yeah.
it.
I mean you just need something that shoots. It's certainly understand all the the flashy stuff and the more expensive stuff, but
Mhm.
it's not that my bow is cheap, but it's like I don't know. I don't need a new one every year.
Yeah, I understand that
Especially, I mean,
completely.
you got a new one over there. I got a new one over here. Kid
Yeah.
wise, and
Oh, yeah.
it's that new bow can wait another year or two.
No, that's the truth. How is it, man, being a new dad, just from your perspective? I mean, because to me, I kinda like to see how everyone else, kind of thinks about it. I mean,
Sure.
being a new dad is it obviously it's incredible and amazing. It really didn't hit me until I was holding my daughter there for the first time, skin to
Yeah.
skin. Did you kind of go through a similar thing?
I yes and no. Mine was I was ready. I mean, I just
Hmm.
turned 40. Rush he's my first one. But I was ready.
Yeah,
It kind of felt like I had been selfish long enough and
yeah, yeah,
kind of
yeah.
done all the stuff I wanted to do, and so I was ready on that front. Yeah, with Rush though, you and I have talked about it, but he
Hmm.
had when he was born, his esophagus wasn't connected to his stomach,
Mm.
and so he was born, and it was amazing, and all of those things, and and then fairly quickly for us, it was, hey, we got to transport him to the children's hospital and start prepping for surgery.
Wow.
Um, so I was
Mm.
yes to everything you said, and also I had I mean, let's see, he was born at 3 p.m. the next day at 11 a.m. because they hadn't discharged Tasha from the hospital she had him at.
Oh
I
wow.
left her to go to him to be with him pre-surgery,
Mm.
and I'm sitting with this baby in my hands. It's not even 24 hours old, and he's got 50 tubes hanging out of him, and he's getting prepped for surgery. And it's
Jeez,
just me in
man.
there with like 10 doctors and nurses, and that was like a very like, what the fuck, sorry for my language, but a
Hey, it's
very
all right.
like,
Yeah.
what the fuck moment.
Wow.
Um, just kind of like, shit, what do it's so very lonely feeling, but
Mm.
um, surgery went well. He spent some time in the NICU, and I wouldn't change it for anything. He's awesome, and
That's incredible. And
yeah,
he's on the path to recovery and doing better from what I'm hearing.
he's on the path to recovery. Yeah, still.
Yeah.
I mean, we're on the path. That's a
Yeah.
good way to put it. But now it's kind of we're mending from that one, and then trying to prep him. That one was a surprise. He's gonna have a
Mm.
heart surgery here in the next 1 to 3 months. That one we knew about.
Hmm.
And so yeah, it's kind of mend from that one and prep for this one. So, but then
Wow.
after that, I knock on wood, we'll be in the clear.
Yeah. Well, I sure hope so, man. I know everyone's thinking and praying for you,
Thank you.
and for Rush, and of course the wife and everybody. So,
Yeah,
um,
man. Thank you.
absolutely. You know, being a new dad, kind of what I've noticed in the outdoor world, and just I don't want to say the man world. There's plenty of females that absolutely
Sure.
crush it in this
Yeah,
industry.
yeah.
Um, but growing up, I mean, it was just kind of the man's job, so to speak, right? You go out and you provide, and then the wife stays
Sure.
home, and of course, economy may not let you do that as so often anymore.
Yeah.
And I've just find it incredible now seeing kind of this newer trend, if you will, of people like yourself who own a business, who are trying to get something started, get it off the ground, and yet still be a dad, right? And still be a good husband. Do you ever find trying to balance a new business and, obviously a new, a baby and a wife? I mean, all these things. Do you ever find yourself trying too hard to balance that, or is it a struggle, or are you pretty good at just whenever you're home, you're home, and when you're at work, you're at work?
Yeah, that might be a better question for her. But I think that I think I've done okay. I mean, I
Yeah.
think that she's very understanding with all this stuff going on with Rush.
Mm-hmm.
She's not working
Yeah.
currently, and so she's taken on kind of taken over there, and
And that's
my
a job
mom.
in itself.
Yeah, for sure. And my
Yeah.
mom has been a massive help. My mom's
That's
been
great.
more or less living with us most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, between them two, they're crushing it, and
That's awesome.
I'm it affords me to not have to stress so much on that
Sure.
front, but certainly, I certainly for the first time in a long time, and naps are sounding really good.
No
uh,
doubt.
so, and one other thing I'd say, just kind of recognized after the surgery of just what the next couple months looked like, and with his heart surgery.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, I mean, it was not, there was like a non-zero chance that we were going to be in the NICU for, 6, 7, 8 months. Fortunately, we were able to bring him home in between, so that didn't happen. But I started delegating and bringing on some help for the business for MANBAR.
Nice.
Just knowing that, yeah, knowing what was coming, and it's just like there was no way I
Hmm.
could have done that, because I mean we were we were fortunate to be able to go to be in the NICU every day with him for a significant amount of time. So
Right.
I
And
think it was just a recognition of my limits, and finding help. So
yeah. Well, that's what a good leader does. If you ask me, I mean, you gotta find help. You gotta find people who are willing to, you know, step in and step up.
yeah.
But speaking of Man Bar, how did this even come about? One, let's just tell people kind of quickly what it is.
Yeah.
How it even came about. What's kind of the origin story, if you will.
So huge accident. Um, I was making three things. It's I hunt. I enjoy hunting.
Mhm.
I had a bunch of meat in the freezer down here in Texas. We can kind of hey bud, we've got a third member of
Uh-oh.
this
See, looky
podcast.
there. We got a yeah, heck yeah. Nice friendly furry friend there.
Yep. So I had a bunch of meat in the freezer from hunting, and down here in Texas, we're fortunate in that we can hunt a bunch of different stuff. So I had
Mhm.
of course, your whitetail and wild pig, but I had axis and all that, and
Wow.
gosh, I think at the time even some black buck and just all sorts of stuff. And so had a meat full of, a freezer full of meat. I've always enjoyed cooking. It's been something I've done since I mean, my mom got me cooking, I think, when I was like 4 or 5 years old. And so that's always been something I've really enjoyed.
Mhm. Okay.
And then the third thing is I've always been pretty in tune with health and fitness and nutrition and kind of always had a foot or a toe in that world as well. And so for a long time now, I mean, God, probably 2 decades, 15 years, I've been more or less following Charles Poliquin's meat and nut breakfast. He is kind of on paper, probably
What
the
is
most,
that?
yeah, on paper, Charles Poliquin's probably the most successful strength and conditioning coach in terms of just the
Really? Okay.
volume of professional athletes, Olympic athletes, all that he trained.
Okay.
He popularized something called the meat and nut breakfast, which he felt so strongly about that he wouldn't work with an athlete if they didn't get on it. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's basically for breakfast you eat meat and you eat nuts. And essentially what that is just it's really just high fat and high protein. And
Okay.
so I was in the kitchen one day, or for a couple days in a row, just experimenting, trying new recipes, having people taste it, all that. And I'm eating breakfast one day, and I've got a bag of beef jerky, and I've got a handful of nuts. And I mean, it's as dumb as it sounds. I literally looked down and was like, man, it'd be so much more convenient if this was just in together.
Yeah.
Um, and so I just started experimenting and I started making like a dehydrated meat and nut bar. And I was using all the different meats in my freezer that I had hunted. And then I was just adding different nuts. I was adding dried cranberries, essentially like it's similar to a pemmican bar. Um,
Gotcha.
and started making that and they were really good. And my friends would come over and I'd have them try them. And, they were asking like why this is so unique, why this combination, and I'd explain to them all the physical and mental benefits of the meat and nut breakfast theory and why high proteins and fats first thing in the morning, which we can get into in a bit, but pretty immediately all of them were like, can I pay you to make these for me every week? Like they were like, this is perfect. And so kind of before I knew it, I was making a bunch of bars every day for a group of friends, and then they were telling their friends, and kind of
Yeah.
got to the point where um it was like, all right, I either got to like stop doing this because all my time's being taken up doing this, or find someone to make them. And that was that was like year one that I just said. And then the next 6 months were really trying to find someone who would make these products for me. And, um,
What's that process like? Trying to find a
well,
manufacturer, I guess.
just everything takes longer than you'd hope. It's, a lot of banging your head against a brick wall. Cause it's
Mm-hmm.
just, they're
Jumping through
either,
hoops.
yeah, it's either a lot of them have their protocols that they do, and they don't want to change from that. They just the ideal business for them is just someone who comes in and they white label something that they're already making.
Mm,
Because on their side, it's less work for them. They can just make bigger batches of it.
gotcha.
So I was coming in with bison, which not many people are doing, and then I wanted in bar form, and then I wanted nuts, and I wanted all this extra stuff. And kind of long story short is after 3 or 4 months, it came to a point where it was like, it's either I make these, which I didn't want to do, I to this day still have my engineering job, um, and or I pivot and start thinking about what a stick would look like. I was pretty opposed to doing it at first because everyone makes sticks. But then I just kind of went through the mental framework of like, well, if you had to, what would it look like? And pretty quickly it was like, well, I could replace the nuts with beef fat. Because at the time I was making a bison and almond bar was like the
Mm,
first product I wanted to launch.
okay.
And so it was like, well, I can replace the
Interesting.
almonds with beef fat. Then if you're doing that, it doesn't need to be in bar form. It can be in stick form.
Mm-hmm.
We can still avoid encapsulated acids, which I'll dig into more later too.
Yeah.
We can use this starter culture that introduces probiotics into it. And so I just started, principally, it's technically, it's not meat and nuts, it's meat and fat, but really the nuts and the fat are for the same purpose.
Gotcha.
And so I still had like the essence of what I was making. It's just I could get started way quicker, and it was kind of getting to that point of like I need to get started or just cut
Mm.
it off and stop. Not that I was wasting time, but
No,
it's
I understand.
it just got to the fork of like, all right, what are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
And so I got some samples made, found a co-packer. They made me some samples. I gave them out to all the people that were buying the bars from me. And I was like, hey, I'm not making the bars anymore, but I'm going to make these. If you like them, I'm pre-selling for a full year's worth at a discount. Are you in or are you out? And
Mm.
so kind of through that process, and I was able to jump on one or two podcasts with some buddies that
Nice.
had a decent, but kind of between all that, I was able to pre-sell about 25 grand worth.
Wow.
And that was my starting capital for the business. And
Yeah.
so I pre-sold all that, and I used that 25K to fund the business. So that was my first production run, all the labels, all the
Wow.
legal work I needed to do, all of that, and that was back in July, and here we are.
Wow. No, that's incredible. As I'm sure making a packaged food, and I'm sure there's all sorts of rules and regulations with the nutrition labeling and
Yeah,
all that fun jazz. Speaking of that, I'm looking through your website, and man, one of the things that I really loved was if you go, and of course that you already know this, but if you are on trymanbar.com and you go to order, right there at the checkout, it breaks down everything that's in it.
yeah,
And I thought that was incredible because, especially right now in this current day and age, with everything that's going on with food in the political world,
yeah.
um, we're trying to get rid of the different artificials. Red
Hmm.
40 is a big one, and all these different things, and trying to just like, hey, what's in our food?
Yeah,
Because I think as a country, we don't really truly know what's in our food. Um, and I mean everything from cereal to a chicken breast, because
sure.
you know that chicken wasn't just hanging out grazing and eating whatever.
Yeah,
It's
right.
in a pen with a million other ones getting pumped,
Sure.
and you know uh where I'm going is I thought it was so cool being that transparent. Is that something that was really important to you, being just fully transparent? Hey, man, here's what's in these bars. Here's why they're great. Here's what makes them what they are. Was that something that was important to you in that process?
100%. I mean that's yeah. I mean there's a couple of things couple like items of when I s- when I was looking at doing the sticks, and it was like, okay, let's figure out what would be a stick, but what are also the differentiators, and that's really where I started just checking boxes of what I didn't like from the sticks on the market.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of them was the size. That's why ours are 2 to 3 times the macros of most sticks,
Sure.
at least on the calories and fats front. And just the size, we're a 2+ ounce stick where most sticks are 1 ounce. So that was one. I was just tired of eating 2 and 3 of the other sticks. But from a quality standpoint, only source regenerative from family ranches in the U.S. doing regenerative agriculture. That was huge to me. I've been following regenerative agriculture for a very long time,
Mm.
and um, I I understand from a supply chain standpoint why
Right.
companies go out of the US and bring in, import meat. And that's
Mm-hmm.
just not something I wanted to do. It was like, we've got problems here. Regenerative agriculture can solve it. Let's support the people.
That are doing
Even,
that.
even if it's 0.1% of the market, let's do our part to give these guys a market to sell to.
Mm.
Um, so that was one thing, and then the encapsulated acids was a big one, where most sticks have encapsulated acids in them. that is generally for all your big, your big time meat stick companies that you're going to see encapsulated lactic acid or encapsulated citric acid on the label.
What is that?
So typically, I'm not in everyone's lab and can't tell you because there's certain derivatives, but
Okay.
just based on what they're doing price wise, it's most likely a synthetic acid that is encapsulated in a hydrogenated oil. What that means is, one, you're not getting the full profile of the acid, and two, that hydrogenated oil, that encapsulated part, means they're adding hydrogen to some sort of, big word now, seed oil. That's all in the news, but
Yeah.
some sort of low quality oil. They add hydrogen to it so that it's a solid at room temperature, and you mix that with the meat. It almost looks like flake salt.
Okay.
When you just get it out of a bag, but you mix that with the meat, form it however you're going to form it, stick it in the oven, the smoker, whatever you're going to do with it. And as the temperature increases, that oil melts, exposing the acid to the meat, and then thus starts the preservation process.
Oh, okay.
That oil obviously doesn't just evaporate.
Yeah.
And that's why with a lot of sticks, you get that waxy film, you get that coating on your mouth, the
Gotcha.
indigestion. It's like the gas coming out of either end.
Yeah.
It's
Hi, I didn't know that.
it's likely from that stuff, and that's, a lot of people now are pretty in tune with. There's a lot of people with like autoimmune issues and all of that, and they literally can't go to the store and like eat a chomps. I've got a lot of friends who are like this, and because those encapsulated acids just not up their stomach. And so I wanted to avoid those. So what we did is we have a starter culture that's actually made out of beets, the vegetable. And so it's basically using fermented vegetables to ferment the meat. And what that does is, it avoids all that nasty stuff I just talked about, but it also introduces the full profile of the acid, which introduces probiotics. So now you're getting like live cultures and all the microorganisms and that lead to that in the stick. And so not only is it not unpleasant to eat, it's actually very pleasant, which you can attest to because I sent y'all some.
Oh yeah, they're amazing.
But yeah, so that's kind of the checklist I went down when I was formulating my own. And and to be, as you said, I mean, we have to put it, but I never shy away from talking about it. On our ingredient list is dextrose from tapioca root. And what that does is that initiates the fermentation process. And so there's no sugar. The culture completely consumes that. There's no sugar in the stick or anything like that, but that's why that ingredient is in there. And we just went with, instead of doing like a cane sugar or a brown sugar, we just felt that was the better option.
Wow.
And even though it's consumed and you don't get it, it's still like, well, let's feed the culture with that rather than just like a cane sugar or some, white sugar or something like that. So, but yeah, it's been third party tested, no sugar or any of that stuff in there, and that's why.
Oh, dude, I think that's incredible. I mean, so obviously you've done a lot of research, and I mean, I'm sure everyone can hear the passion and the, just everything that went into it.
I'm sorry, it's starting to sprinkle on me. I'm gonna have to move indoors.
Hey, you're good. You're good.
So
we'll just keep the show going.
I was gonna say, hopefully no one gets seasick watching me.
It's all good. So I mean,
sorry, I cut you off there.
No, it's totally okay. How was the process of trying all these different ingredients and figuring out what worked? How did you know to use the stuff from the beets or the root of this? And like, I mean, was that a months of just doing it? I mean, how did that kind of all pan out in the end?
Can you hear me okay? It looks like it paused on my end.
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Okay.
I'm sure it'll come back.
Yeah, it was fine. So a lot of that was just research and then doing the work with the co-packers. Now we got a crying baby. All right, this is real life over here.
Hey, this is just part of it, man. This is life. This happens.
Yes, so a lot of that was researching with the co-packers. I'm
Okay.
gonna do this. Sorry, man.
All good, dude. This is just part
But
of it. Whenever you have a baby and life happens and it's in business and then weather, you just such is life.
roll with it. So, yes, so a lot of that was from the co-packers and just understanding what processes they did and they were good at. And so the one that I went with and the one that I found is probably the best in the US at that particular process.
Okay.
A lot of the ones I talked to, wouldn't do it. Again, a lot of them like their own processes, and so they're
Mm-hmm.
using the encapsulated acids and their own kind of formulas.
Gotcha.
And so those were the ones that were kind of unwilling to stray away from that, especially for someone who was starting a company.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of like, who are you
Right.
type of mentality. And it was like, okay, that's fine, but this, just you're not the right person for me.
Mm.
So yeah, that front was just research. As far as like the spices and making it taste good and all that, again, I'm no chef, but I'd say I know how to make food taste good.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so that was literally just me in the kitchen with a bunch of spices, some bison, a little bit of beef, and just kind of treating it like being in the lab and
Hmm.
testing a bunch of different combinations.
Hey, I think that's incredible. And I'm sure all your buddies didn't mind it whenever you had something new for them to try.
Yeah, and that was the thing. I had like a year of testing with the bars with them, and just where each time I'd switch something up a little bit and just, hey, what do you think of this? How's
Yeah.
that compare to the last one? And so, to be fair, I pretty much had the formula done by the time I had decided to switch over to a stick. It was just minor tweaks from there, and it was a year of R&D though, essentially.
Gotcha.
And then
Hey,
we just started.
taste.
I just posted on our Instagram yesterday. We just started on the. We're gonna be coming out with. It's looking like a hatch and jalapeno version sometime later this year.
Oh,
And
that's incredible.
yeah, and so the ultimate goal, hopefully in the next 2 or 3 years, we'll have 6 or 8 different kind of meat and flavor combinations that we can be offering everyone.
I think that's a great. You talked earlier, Trevor, about the size of the meat stick, and I've actually got one here.
Yeah,
If
man.
if people can see, I'm not the smallest dude in the world, and this thing is, I mean, like the size of my thumb here. I mean, this thing is. I mean, dude, it's huge. It's. I mean, I don't know if it looks like it's almost a darn foot long. I mean, it's just crazy. Why did
Yeah.
you kind of touched on it earlier, but what was the kind of reasoning behind such a bigger bar than I guess the average ones that you would see on a gas station shelf there?
It was literally, again, that there wasn't a whole. I always joke there's not a whole lot of overthinking going on over here. It was literally, I was tired of eating 2 and 3 of the other sticks.
Gotcha.
I am not I'm about 6'1", two. Hey, bud. Hey, I'm about 6'1", 200.
Gotcha.
Um, and a couple, buddies we're all very active. We're snowboarding, we're hunting, we're surfing, we're doing it, and none of us were ever satisfied with one stick, and we always used to joke of like, man, I wish someone would just make like a mega stick.
Yeah,
And so it was literally that. And just back on
I
the
love
nutrition
it.
side of things, it was like really the only time that people are eating sticks are when they're too busy, like they're in the middle of something, like they're too busy to stop and eat a meal.
Sure.
And if that's the case, then you actually want the calories and the fat, because that's what sustains you, that's what gives you energy, that's what's
Right.
satiating, that's what's going to keep you going both mentally and physically. And so it just, when I was formulating, it was like, man, these things need to be over 200 calories, and I want minimum 15 grams of fat. And we were able to get 210 calories and 17 grams of fat, and we still got 12 grams of protein in there, but my personal thinking is that the high protein, low fat meat stick is flawed, because when you're eating them, you want the energy and the satiation, which comes from the fat and the calories. So
Gotcha.
that's kind of the spiel on why they are the way they are. And again, it was something. It's also different than what everyone else is doing, and kind of gives me a talking point to say something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. I mean, if you just walk down the aisle, I mean, this one will definitely pop out. That's for sure. Um,
Well,
you know,
I'd say, I mean, I sent them to you, for opening weekend of turkey season,
yeah, yeah,
and then, I mean, would you say that, A, did you have them while you were out there, and B,
yep,
could you tell a difference? Because I mean, I sent a bunch out with guys for like elk season, and I was blown away at some of the guys were texting me, and they were like, man, I'm having one of these at like 10:30 in the morning, skipping breakfast,
right,
having one at 10, kind of after the morning hunt, and then they were good until until dinner time. And
yeah,
so
dude,
it,
absolutely. This thing. So, Ben actually wanted me to tell you this. So that dude has hunted. He's a guide here in Tennessee at the Sinking Creek Ranch, and he's just literally been hunting every day of turkey season.
yeah,
Um, and he told me today, he's like, dude, I have walked. He said 70 like 3 miles or something.
wow,
Um, and anyway, he wanted me to tell you like this MANBAR is really just kept him going and kept him from he's like, I'm not really starving, and I'm not like
yeah.
it's keeping me fueled, it's keeping me juiced. Same thing here. I mean, I haven't walked no 73 miles, but just even just walking, a few miles in these Tennessee hills,
Sure.
chasing after the gobblers. Look, dude, I am by no means a fit man, and this thing keeps me going. And they, because to me it's kind of a combination. One, it's the functionality, right?
Right.
It's giving me what I need to keep going to do what I want to do. But also, like, hey man, I don't want it to suck. I don't want
Yeah,
to, don't eat crappy food,
for
and it's
sure.
not,
Yeah,
and like it it does a good job, and it tastes amazing.
yeah.
And
Thank
I
you.
absolutely. Do you think part of that is, especially on the website, and you talked about it there with the whole vegetables and everything, that slow fermentation process,
Yeah.
and of course we kind of talked about the process of other sticks. I mean, do you think that has that process kind of affects the taste a lot, or is that more towards the nutritional value, or does it kind of deal with both?
The fermentation process will affect the taste a bit. Mine have a you can slightly taste the fermentation, like the little tang.
Hmm.
It's not. I don't think it's super strong, and most people seem to like it. But more, yeah, it's that, and also just kind of the experience of eating it, where, like I was saying earlier, you're not gonna get it's not oily. You're not
Right,
going to
right,
get that
right.
weird film in your mouth after you eat it, and it's also just the way it sits in your stomach is much more enjoyable. It's not again, you're not going to be gassy afterwards. You're not, if you've got immune issues or anything like that, it's not going to hurt. It's just kind of like a pleasant eating experience, and like you said, I also tend to think they taste pretty good. I'm a little biased.
Hey, that's
Um,
all right.
but yeah, it's more on the health of it, but you certainly get some noticeable differences in the texture and the aftertaste and all of that as well.
Gotcha. um and kind of along with that, you talked about this regenerative agricultural.
Yeah,
Um, it kind of explained to people, what is that? Should we be paying more attention to that? I mean, what basically just what is it, and why is it good for I guess for food, the environment, the animals? I mean, what's the
sure.
deal with it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that hunting and regenerative ag go hand in hand.
Okay.
both principally and kind of literally, in that regenerative agriculture. So regenerative agriculture is basically a set of principles of how to work the land. Um, it goes beyond just like not spraying chemicals. It's no till. It promotes diversity. It's adaptive, like high density grazing with your animals, basically putting all of your animals in one herd or one
Hmm.
flock, and moving them as one. Trying to mimic nature of, if you think about bison are always used as the example of, back in the day before there were fences, there were these massive bison herds that just
Yep.
from Canada to Mexico, were moving as this giant herd of, some say tens of millions of at a time. And so behind them were part of the reason they were moving. One was food, but also, there's probably some wolves behind them and some other predators. And
Sure.
essentially what regenerative ag does is try to mimic that to the best of its ability.
Mm.
And when you start, I always use the example of like training. So, you go to the gym, let's say you're working your squats. You want to hit your squats pretty hard. You want to kind of crush your legs, and then you're going to take several days off. And that recuperation, that rest, is really where all the good stuff happens, in terms of gaining strength and your muscle fibers and all of that.
Yeah.
So when I put, let's say 50 cattle uh, on a certain amount of acres, they're essentially stressing the land.
I see. Okay.
And the difference is that, but you take them off of it and you let that land rest. And so now it's all those hoof prints, all of the urine, all the feces, all of that is given time to kind of rest and recuperate the land, and you don't bring those animals back on it until, depending on where you're at, obviously it changes for everywhere, but 3, 6, 9 months.
Oh wow.
And
Okay.
that gives the soil time to fertilize. It gives the grass time to grow, all of that. Where versus if you're, a more traditional sense, and I'm not even talking feedlots, which is a whole other conversation. But if you're not doing that, the individual animals may move, but there's always going to be animals in that one spot,
Right. I see
right?
what you're saying.
And so the land is never given time to rest. And
Hmm.
so you're never getting the benefit of the manure and just letting the grass grow and the urine and all of that. And so um, that in itself tends to add diversity in the soil, diversity in the plant life, which then brings, all your soil microorganisms and all that, but also it starts attracting more birds and different types of birds. And there's some really good documentaries. Kiss the Ground has two that are
Hmm.
phenomenal. Kiss the Ground and Common Ground. And then the other one is a series by Carbon Cowboys, that is phenomenal, because they actually go and take ranches that are side by side, literally touching, and
Hmm.
one's been doing regenerative agriculture and one hasn't been,
Oh
and they
wow.
go in and they just do all these kind of data points and test on the soil micro, the diversity, the plant diversity, the animal diversity, the number of birds, all of these things. And it's pretty clear that there's a significant difference in the practices, and regenerative is it's pretty incredible. I mean, it
Hmm.
is I'm a firm believer in that is the way to heal the earth, and for the US specifically, and why we don't import animals. It's we need more regenerative we need more people in the US doing regenerative agriculture to heal our land, heal our soil, um,
Hmm.
and just bring all this abundance back. And so it's that goes hand in hand with on the hunting side of things, because the more nutritious your soil, your grass, all of that, just the bigger the deer that are going to grow, the more turkey you're going to have, the et cetera, et cetera. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
if you like going into the back country or into the mountains and all of that, this is basically a way to, I'd say, mimic that from a farming and ranching standpoint.
Hmm.
So that
No,
was a very long-winded answer, but
no, I love it.
it's really cool, and there's a lot of people out there doing some amazing stuff, and I don't own a ranch or farm yet. That's the ultimate goal, but
I hear you.
it's certainly how can I get involved in this and making a product out of those animals
Hmm.
just made all the sense in the world.
And I mean, I'm sure this obviously isn't probably the most used practice. I mean, how hard is it to find these farms that do it and will also do it for your product? I mean, is that a big challenge to kind of source the animals from these small farms and of course
It
keeping it in the U.S.?
it it's I mean it's the data, the information's out there. I mean, you can get on Instagram, you can get on the internet. I mean, they're out there. They're not super hard to find, and you can find. I mean, when I was looking, there were probably, I don't know, half a dozen different bison ranches that I spoke with that were raising them,
Gotcha.
regeneratively, or using those principles, and so they're out there. You just kind of gotta A, know that it exists, and B, do a little bit of work to find them. But it's not hard, and I mean, I imagine that it's as simple for most people of just typing in your city and
Gotcha.
typing in regenerative ranches near me or something like that. And there's also some companies like Force of Nature is a good one. I don't believe that all of their stuff is regeneratively raised. I may be wrong on that, but they do a good, from what I can tell, do a pretty good job of sourcing from ranches who are trying to incorporate that more and more. But they're not just in the U.S. I'm pretty sure they're all over,
Hmm.
or at least maybe like New Zealand and the U.S. or something like that. I don't want to. I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me on any of
Mhm.
that. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that there are companies that's out there that are seeing the benefits of it and trying to move more towards that supply chain.
I think it's great, and if we can
Yeah,
get more companies doing it, I think you know, like you said, it'll just heal the earth.
absolutely. Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. And that's, I mean, for people who like to hunt, like, man,
yeah,
that'd be cool.
yeah, heck yeah, it would be. I mean,
Sorry to interrupt. Is my
no,
video still frozen?
I think it is, but I
Okay.
think I think with this uh kind of program we're using, I think it's still filming you,
Oh, okay, cool.
so it should be fine.
Okay.
Um, but
Oh, yeah, whatever.
we'll figure it out. It's kind
uh,
of that's kind of the life I live, man. Like, hey, we'll just figure it out whenever we get there.
yeah.
I'm sure
So,
there's a way to make it work. Speaking of making it work, obviously, I think you have done a good job at that. Um, the other thing I kind of really like about the company is, you're not really in one avenue, and what I mean by that is, this meat stick. If you've never hunted and you've only ever been in a gym, it's still for you. If you're just the on the go parent
yeah,
that wants a healthy snack and trying to get through ball games and
sure.
all that, it's for you. If you're the elk hunter, if it's for you. I mean, if you're just like me, you're just a good old East Tennessee redneck who likes to hunt turkeys and fish and do all the fun stuff. It's for you too. So I think that's another great thing that you've made something and market it as, hey, this is for everybody.
Yeah, I mean,
Obviously we're a
so
hunting and fishing podcast, but
yeah,
it's I think it's important. I mean, of course, like it's food, of course it's for everybody,
sure.
but I just mean what's in it is good and can really help out a lot of people in my eyes.
Yeah, I mean that principally it just goes back to what I was saying on the meat nut breakfast, and which then
Right.
turned into basically it's like it's not just high protein, but it's high protein and high fat,
Mm-hmm.
and the combination of those things are just great from a both mental and physical standpoint. So from a physical standpoint, it's more satiating, meaning you can eat less but still feel you're not gonna. I am by no means saying you're gonna, even though those sticks are big, you're not gonna eat one and be like stuffed.
Right.
It's still 2 ounces of meat, and it's like it's not a feast, but it's enough to get you satiated, which can keep you going and doing whatever it is that you were doing.
Mm-hmm.
From a mental standpoint, the high protein and the high fat target neurotransmitters that are associated with drive, energy, and focus. So that's why Ben was mentioning, like, he's like, man, I just feel good. I feel clear headed. I'm not starving. I'm not having any cravings, any of that. And that goes back
Mm-hmm.
to the satiation, is that if you're satiated, you're not going to have those sugar cravings, and you're not going to have the sugar crashes. You're not going to,
Right.
you just, your energy levels are basically, the protein allows for a slow increase in your blood sugar, and then the fat prolongs that.
Gotcha.
And so that's why, even if you're just eating protein, you'll have that slow build, but then also it's going to come down.
Mm.
Whereas with the fat, allows it to extend, and you're good to go for, hours longer.
I see.
So, if you just look at those kind of principles of drive, energy, and focus, and satiation, yeah, I mean, that applies to anyone. I mean, we've got, you know, understand there are certain probably stereotypes with the name, which we can dig into in a minute. But we've got a whole gang of moms and new moms, not even including Tasha,
Yeah.
that just swear by these, because they're like, it is the perfect thing to eat while I'm breastfeeding. It's easy.
Mm-hmm.
I can, it's filling for them. That size stick tends to be obviously more filling for a woman who's smaller.
Yeah.
But they just swear by them, and they just love that it's filled with calories and fat and protein, because that is what they need while they're breastfeeding. And that's
Yeah.
not something that's not an application that I ever thought about beforehand. But I
But
just think it's
yeah.
cool. It's like my favorite application to tell people, because it's
Yeah, I think
it's
it's
so
great.
far from it's relevant to me now, but before that,
Right.
it's just like, it's not something that I saw, like, ever saw.
Yeah, I would say not. Um, I tell you what, let's touch on the name for just a second. As I was going to ask, I mean,
Yeah,
you know, of all the things, because obviously it started as a bar,
right.
right, and now it's a stick, but we're still calling it Man Bar. What's
What's the deal?
yeah, what's going on?
So the name actually came from, I was making meat and nut bars.
Right.
And I was thinking of, and I was tired of saying meat and nut bars, and so I was just like, literally, like, brainstorming one day, and I just did the acronym MAN bar for meat and nuts, and I just thought, I
Mm,
started laughing when I wrote it. At the time, this was like, a couple years ago now, and all the gender stuff was kind of, I don't even know what it's like now, but back
yeah.
then it was certainly more of a conversation, and I just thought it was funny, and I started telling people that, and the reaction I got was, I'd say 90, it was 100% emotional, 90% positive, and 10% negative,
Mm-hmm.
but it was always an emotional reaction. And so I was like, oh, this is like pretty interesting. And like, the 90% that loved it, which were, to be clear, both men and women, would like crack up and be like, that's awesome. Like, you have to do that. But I got so many people saying, like, dude, you have to call it that.
Yeah.
That it just kind of stuck. And I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to call it that. And so, when I had to pivot, by that time, it was just kind of a name. It was just, like Google. Not comparing us to Google, but it's just
No,
a
I know what
name
you're
that,
saying.
like, didn't even mean,
Yeah.
it just meant something else. And so that's where it started. And I think it's certainly not anything we shy away from. I'm not I personally hate the divisiveness of talking, men versus women or any of that. I hate it.
Yep.
I think it's silly, but at the same time, I do think there are, there's nothing wrong with the word man. There's nothing wrong with masculinity. There's,
Zero.
if anything, we need more of it. And so we don't shy away from it. But again, it's certainly not something that we're trying to like be divisive about, or I've always said from the get-go that, I understand if women, women don't want to consume it because of the name, but I always wanted the message to resonate with them, that they'd want to buy it for the men in their life.
Mm.
And so, if we achieve that, I'm fine with that. But like I said, we've got a whole gang of pregnant women who absolutely love them, and I'd say right now probably, I think I'd say 25 to 30% of our customer base is female.
Oh, wow.
So it's a pleasant surprise, and again, yeah, I
Well,
don't know.
yeah,
I think people hear it and have a certain stereotype, and then when they come and see our content or our messaging, it's none of that stuff. If anything, it's pro family, pro good
absolutely.
relationships, pro all of that stuff, and none of the, it's not a take this to the nightclub and go hit on chicks bar.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, that's not the vibe at all. And it's
Yeah,
funny
for
that
sure.
it's just an acronym for meat and nut bar. But, you know,
But yeah, there's no longer nuts in there, and it's no longer a bar. So
yeah.
maybe I'm an idiot and should have changed the name, but who
Hey,
knows?
I think it's great, man. I'm all about it. Dude, it's just really cool to kind of have something that you made and people like, and I think it's really cool that of course, again, like I said, that it's for everybody.
Yeah.
So now, is every stick a mix of beef and bison, or can you get beef sticks and bison sticks, or what's the?
So right now we just have the one stick, and it is a mix of
It's
beef
just
and
okay.
bison. And the
Gotcha.
reason for that is because when I was going through that formulation of the stick, and it's like, well, I need to replace the almonds with fat. That was purely I I mean, I personally don't mind. Like you, I eat a ton of game meat, so it's you
Yeah.
know it's all no different for me. But I felt that the beef fat in there would be a little more approachable. Because
Sure.
most sticks have like 10% fat. Ours are 30. So
Okay.
it's a significant bump, and so I just
Well,
felt that the beef fat was more familiar, more approachable to the palate for most people.
yeah.
It's compared to bison fat, it's a little less waxy, it's less gamey, uh, all of those things, and so that's why I went with beef fat rather than bison fat. So
Gotcha.
we're gonna this next. The plan is to have right now, and this will likely change, but right now we're gonna launch this spicy version of a bison and beef stick, and then I'm probably gonna do two beef sticks of just pure beef, and
Nice.
then two. We'll see what it's looking like, but I may do two, like, we got wild pigs up to our ears down here, so I may do like a wild pig with pork fat
Oh
type
yeah.
thing if needed, for the fifth and sixth bars, but we'll see.
Hey, I think that's great. So you do a lot of pig hunt down there?
Less since Rush was born, but
What? Okay, yeah, yeah. I get that.
definitely, but in general, yeah, I try and get out there, and we've got a couple. I don't know how it is there, but Texas is predominantly private land,
Yeah,
and
it's like
so
it. Isn't there like
it's
some crazy stat that like 90 something percent of it or something is private?
yeah, it's nuts. I think it's like 96%
It's
or
crazy to
something
think how
insane.
big it
Yeah.
is, and yeah, that's nuts.
So down here you get there's hunting leases that you can get on, or you're lucky and you got friends that have ranches and stuff like that. But
Sure, sure.
for most people, it's like you're jumping on a lease, and that's literally just a landowner leasing his land for hunters
Right, right.
to go in. And so yeah, we've got several spots kind of all over the state that we go, some public, some most private. And yeah, usually try and get a buddy or two, and we'll go out there and see if we can get on some pigs, kind of, because there's no season for them, and there's no limit down here. It's just kind of get as
Right.
many as you can get. I try to eat everything I kill, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm not personally haven't gone and done any like helicopter mow downs or anything like that. You know,
Me either.
I'm usually out with either my rifle or my bow, and you know, just
Nice.
trying to keep the freezer full. And then we've got obviously a whitetail season and turkey season, all that. But then we've got like a bunch of all the exotics
Yeah, which is
don't
crazy.
have a season. So we've got. I'm trying to sweet talk Tasha and to get me. I'm hoping to go turkey hunting this weekend, and then I was supposed to go actually that same weekend y'all were, but we had a little scare with Rush and
Yeah,
had
yeah.
to spend a few days in the hospital again, and then so I'm hoping to get out there for that, and then hoping to get at least a weekend of axis hunting in before it gets too hot, because we're knocking on that summer down here where it's just not fun.
Yeah, buddy, I can only imagine. You know, I've been to Texas a few times. I actually have a Rio Grande on the wall from Texas that
Nice.
I doubled up with Ben. You know, man, it's a fun time. We saw
Yeah.
some axis, we saw a bunch of whitetail.
Very cool.
Um, yeah, that it's just different down there.
Yeah, man.
You know, the fact that you can literally go shoot all these different things
Yeah.
and then like a normal whitetail as well and whatever, it's like it's a different world down there. Uh, what's your favorite thing to hunt? Or one of, I'll say.
Man, it depends. I don't know. I always get excited. I mean, it's all exciting. I mean, you know this. I'm trying
Absolutely.
to think. I mean, axis are always fun. Um,
Because like mine's turkey for the
yeah.
interactive part. I just love
Tur-
it, dude. I love
yeah.
turkey hunting. It's my
No,
favorite thing in the world.
turkey's very cool. I shot an aoudad in the hill country actually,
Oh, okay,
on
interesting.
a guy's ranch, and that was really cool just because for a couple reasons. Is most people will tell you like, because most of the aoudad are in West Texas,
Okay.
which is more deserty, and most people are kind of like just shoot it and let it lie, like don't touch it, they stink,
Wow.
they all that. And so
Hmm.
our the ranch I was on, they had a small, they had some aoudad on there, and the guy, I was asking him, I was like, man, do you ever hunt them? Like, because I was curious of like, are they as bad as everyone says? And he was like, man, I've never, he's kind of old school guy, and he was like, I've never eaten one, but he's like, I know you like cooking, like shoot one if you see it. And so he put me in the spot where they usually hang out, and some came out, and I got a good shot on one and was able to get it down. And man, I we strung that thing up, I skinned it, not a single foul smell on it.
Heck yeah.
Took it home, um cut off a little piece of the backstrap just to taste what it was like, and it was fine. And then ended
Hmm.
up cooking like some stews and stuff like that with it. It was phenomenal. And so it's
Interesting.
stuff like that I think as much of my excitement comes from the actual cooking of it and like sharing it with people.
Yeah, I get
Like I get
that.
a lot of joy out of doing like cooking heart for people, venison heart, axis heart, whatever.
Hmm.
Just because a lot of people haven't had game animals, and a lot of people haven't had heart, and
Yeah.
so it's a new experience for them, and it's kind of cool to say, because I do, for the most part, do all my own butchering and processing and all that. So
Yeah.
just being able to tell people like, look, I'm literally the only person that's ever touched this, because then I cook it as well.
Yeah, which is
Uh,
a big deal.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
man.
it's a cool thing to tell people and give them the story, and then feed them something they've never had. And so I probably get as much, if not more, joy out of that than the actual like hunting part of it.
Dude, I totally agree, man. So I grew up uh literally in a kitchen. My dad been in a kitchen since 1980. Mom has a degree in culinary arts. I kind of didn't have a
Amazing.
choice.
Yeah.
So we owned a restaurant, the whole nine. Um,
Yeah.
so anyway, cooking, that's really cooking and killing turkeys is about the two best things I'm good at in life. And past that,
I love it.
it's pretty much a stretch. So I totally agree with you, man. Whenever I can provide and I can say,
Yeah.
hey, I went out, I got this, here's a meal. It's absolutely incredible. I will say though, um, heart's the one thing I haven't done.
Really,
Yeah, man. I don't know. I think it's a
dude.
mental block. I totally think if you cooked it and just told and didn't tell me and I just ate it, be totally fine. Probably delicious.
Oh man,
I
dude,
usually
you
save
you
my
got to
hearts
change that.
for. I've got a buddy of mine,
Yeah.
who loves them, so I just save them for him. Um, I will say
Oh
I tried
man.
liver once out of a deer.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm good, dude. Look, this is my
Deer,
philosophy. If it's in the gut pile, it should just stay there.
deer liver can be strong for sure.
Yeah.
Turkey liver is actually pretty nice and mild. Actually, that might be a
Hmm.
good gateway liver to try is from a
Interesting.
turkey.
Because I'll tell you, man,
Um,
I've cooked a lot of beef liver, uh, and dude, look,
turkey is one of the more mild ones.
yeah, this is my philosophy on liver. I'll put it on a hook and catch something better to eat.
All
That's
right, hey,
kind of
fair enough.
that's kind of my idea. Look, I'll cook it for you because
Yeah,
man, I oh dude, I'll never forget this, man. I shot this buck. I cut it up, whatever. I take the
yeah,
liver because our bartender and one of our other cooks was like, dude, we love liver. If you get a deer, please bring us to we'd love to try deer
yeah,
liver. Okay, cool. I bring it, dude, we cook it up. It looks amazing. Actually smells pretty good.
yeah,
Looks great. Liver and onions classic, mashed potatoes,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
And dude, they both take a bite and just both of them spit it out, and
Spit it out.
one dude's
Oh
like,
man.
"Dude, if I could lick my butt to get the taste out of my mouth, I would." And I was like, "Oh my, it's hilarious." So and I tried it, and I was like, "This is just, I mean, I'm good, man." So I
Yeah,
don't know if it was user error. It definitely could have been, but
de-
I feel like I did it right.
deer liver is pretty strong. Beef liver, yeah. I mean, a lot of people are doing like these caveman blends now, where they're doing like the liver and the heart in with the ground beef.
Okay, okay. I mean,
That's a nice way to do it. Uh,
I could
but
see
but
that.
but turkey liver is pretty mild. That might be one to just try
Yeah,
to
I'll
say
have
you
to
did
try
it.
that out.
But
Yeah.
but the heart, man, you got to change that. The heart's great.
That's what I keep hearing, dude. It's
I've
just a mental block. I really just
yeah.
need to have someone else do it and it's just try it,
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a muscle.
Right, right.
And it's a little more, I don't know. I've never eaten, actually, I don't even want to use that example because it'll probably gross you out, but I'll use it.
It don't bother me.
I've heard the texture. I'd call the texture like spongy.
Okay.
I've heard it similar to snails, which I've never eaten.
Yeah, I've tried those too.
Okay.
Escargot, yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
that I don't know, just that kind of sponginess, but the flavor, like it's good.
Okay.
I mean, pan sear it with like some red wine and butter.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, just hit it pretty hard on, pretty high heat on both sides. Get a nice little. You don't want to overcook it because then you'll just be chewing on it forever.
Yeah.
But if you just kind of hit the outside good and throw some butter, rosemary, little red wine, something like that, it's very enjoyable.
There you go. Look, I'm down to try it. Yeah, I'll try anything that someone makes me once at
All
least,
right. Well,
I'm
whenever we meet
yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
person, we'll knock out a
Um,
heart.
I say let's just do it and let's just have something else on standby. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. Yeah, man. We're definitely gonna have to get together and go shoot something somewhere.
I would love to.
I don't care if it's pigs, turkeys, deer, whatever.
Well, man, we can get y'all down, you and Ben, get y'all down here and get on some pigs, and then
I'm all about it.
I'll come up there and
Yeah, dude.
for something for
Hey,
turkey or whatever.
we, we've got it. We'll go bass fishing too. I'm all about it.
I love it. Yeah,
Uh,
I started to. I think I mentioned this last time, the first time we spoke, but
mhm.
I finally got an editor who's going to start cranking out some content and clips for me and stuff. But
Yeah.
this past season, we took I think it was 4 different people on like their first hunt,
Oh, yeah,
and
awesome.
filmed it all, and
I
just had
love
the
it.
conversations around it, and kind of guns, everything from gun safety to, hey, this is what a hunting lease looks like, this is a hunting blind, very 101 level stuff.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. Nothing
so,
wrong with that.
no, some really good stuff out there, content that we got and all that. So
Oh, that's incredible.
I'm hoping to do that more, once things settle down with Rush.
Yeah, for
uh
sure, for sure.
hoping to get more of that done this next season, and get on some pigs more, and
I
just all
love
that
it.
stuff, and just kind of have like a 101 approach to hunting for people who are, there's so many people that are curious about it, and it's one of those things. It's like, I really want to do it, but I have no idea where to start.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the thinking behind it, of like, well, let's us be the people where kind of dumb it down and just show all the, like, hey, this is a trigger on a gun, this is pointed at the thing you're trying to shoot at, like, that's an
Yeah, yeah,
animal,
yeah, yeah.
there's an animal, here's where you shoot it, and
Tear it
do
up.
that. So we'll
I think it's great, dude.
yeah,
Yeah,
we'll see if anything comes of that, but we're gonna start posting some clips and stuff
sure.
on our Instagram, and probably at some point of YouTube and all that.
Yep. I think, I mean, you're definitely going to need the socials to grow, just like anything else in life.
Yeah,
But yeah, dude, I think it's amazing taking people out. I do
it's
the
the
same
best.
thing.
Yeah,
I just took my wife's uncle, got him on his first turkey ever.
amazing.
He's super stoked, dude. It's incredible.
Yeah, hooked.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah, dude.
They're
Yeah,
it's
dude.
either they don't love it and they're never gonna do it again, or they're
Right.
just instantly hooked and like, how do I go out every weekend?
Yeah, exactly. I've got my father-in-law, my sister-in-law. I married into of as far as my wife's side of the family, people that didn't hunt, but same idea.
Yeah,
Always kind of wanted to try it. No
yeah,
one was ever around to really teach them, and they're like, I just won't go. But then I was like, hey, have you ever heard of
yeah.
this thing
I'll go.
called deer and turkey hunting? And they're like, yeah, I think that actually be kind of cool. I've just
Yeah,
never didn't really care or know where to start. And I'm like, well, just come with me. And now,
yeah.
they've got all the
Amazing,
camo and the guns and the chokes and all the things that come with that. And they are
incredible.
yeah, dude, they're all in. They absolutely love it. And now I'm going to take my brother-in-law, who has heard from his dad and his uncle, and he's like,
Yeah,
dude, I want to do this, and I want to butcher it. I want to learn how to do
yeah,
all the
yeah, yeah.
things and cook it. And so I'm like, okay, this is awesome. So yeah, I totally
That's
agree. That's to
that's
me
where it's at.
that's what it's all about.
Yeah,
There's unfortunately there are some people in this industry who think having new hunters is not good, and I just man, I just disagree
yeah,
wholeheartedly. You know, someone had to introduce me, so
yeah.
therefore I think
Absolutely.
I should introduce somebody. Um,
It's one of those
is how
things
I
where
feel.
it's like, it should be passed on, and it should
Absolutely,
be,
because
and
otherwise
it's,
it'll be lost.
yeah.
Just
No,
like any
that's
other
exactly
art
right.
form
Yeah.
ever in the history of time. So yeah, man, I'm right there with you. I think we need to get together and make make something happen. Of course, we can make some cool content for these people and everything.
Yeah, I'd love it.
Um, so man, just kind of to wrap things up, I just you know, how can people get these man bars? Where can people find you? And why man bar over the others?
Yeah, so our website and Instagram are both Try Manbar, TryManbar. Right now is actually a great time to go and order because we are sold out, but we are doing a sold out promo. So
Oh, awesome.
we're doing 20% off at the moment. Um, and that's on all of our sticks. We've got a single option if you're just wanting to try it, because our sticks are a little price. I mean, they're not a little. They're pricier than like your store bought, like your chomps and that stuff. One is because
Sure.
they're 3 times the macros, or 2 to 3 times the macros and the fats,
And they're
and higher
bigger.
protein and all that, and also um, the fermentation process we use. I guess this is the differentiators, is just the size, the quality, the fermentation process.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
all of that even the regenerative meat, all of that just makes me say that we've got the best meat stick on the market. I think taste wise and utility wise. But yeah, trymanbar.com, at trymanbar on Instagram. You can sign up for our newsletter, which we just started last month. That will
Incredible.
kind of all things Manbar on that, but then also we'll do cool recipes. We'll do, I don't know, just cool little links of what's going on around from a health and fitness standpoint, from regenerative ag standpoint, just, trying to make it a little informative and not just, here's another email from Manbar, like, go
Yeah,
buy, but actually, give something back. So, that'd be the easiest way. You send me an email on either the contact form on the website, DM me on Instagram if you got questions, whatever.
Hey, I think it's great. I think again, it's amazing how transparent you are.
Thank you.
You know, I think that should be just kind of retold because, you know, those of you out there who I'm sure are just kind of frustrated with not knowing exactly what you're giving yourself or your kids or your friends, your family, whatever. This tells you exactly, and it breaks it down. There's to me, like whenever you buy tickets, and you're always worried that there's hidden fees and stuff. Like
Yeah.
here, there's no hidden fees, right? There's no hidden
Right.
BS. It's just
Yeah,
straight.
for sure.
It's to the point. You're paying for number one a great product. It's bigger. You're paying for a better process, and you're paying for the transparency, in my opinion.
Yeah. And
Um,
and a big one is you're supporting American ranchers who
Absolutely.
are doing the regenerative thing. And that's a much bigger conversation of just how important that is from not only for the world, but for the US, for, keeping dollars at home, not importing any animals, and, buy American.
I love it.
That's what we're doing. Buy American, support these guys so that they can do more of it. And we got to start thinking about our kids and what we're leaving behind them, and not start, but we all need to be thinking about that. And
Yeah,
these guys are doing that. So,
I love
um,
it.
yeah,
So yeah, if you're pro America, eat Man
yeah,
Bar. There you go.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
dude.
If you're anti-American, don't buy ours.
Yeah.
But
I absolutely love it, man. Well, Trevor,
so,
dude, I really appreciate your time.
you too,
Again,
man. I appreciate it.
absolutely. Again, you can find us at trymanbar.com.
Yep.
Or order now. It sounds like now's the time. 20% off your order. So
Yeah, and that'll probably go for, I'd say here in the next month or so. So, you
hey,
don't need to, you got a little bit of time, but it's not going to be a forever thing. And
there
then
you go.
we do free shipping on all of our subscriptions.
And do you ship
Um,
everywhere?
Everyone in the US, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. There you go. All right, guys, and
So,
and as always, you can find Rooted everywhere. We're on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, all the fun places. So, again, trymanbar.com. Order yours today.
awesome.
Trevor,
John,
again, I
thanks, buddy.
appreciate it. You got it, pal.
Yes, sir.
Bye, everybody.
See y'all.